What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of More Controversy here. We're here with former NHLer and current hockey agent, Nick. We're going to let you introduce yourself because you obviously know yourself best. So we're going to give you the floor here. Introduce yourself to our guests, to our fans.
Yeah, well, first, thank you guys for inviting me. Really do appreciate it. I'm 32 years old, fully married with two kids. Played pro for 10 years, and since my retirement, became a sports agent. Even while I was still playing, which is a thing that you don't see often. And then I've been doing this full time with my own agency for 3-4 years, and had to deal with few pandemics here and there, but so far so good. Yeah.
So,
Go ahead.
go ahead, again.
Oh, now thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it as well. We just want to know, like, just to get us started here, what made you want to become an agent? And like, obviously, you did it while you were playing. So
Yeah. Well, if I go back to my playing career, like I started playing goalie, and I've moved up from major AAA to be a first rounder in the QMJHL. Played 4 years with the Montreal Wildcats. Wasn't drafted in my first year, even though I attempted the NHL Combine normally for the first, second rounder. But while I was there, I've interviewed with maybe 20 teams, and I think it was a big thing. But I looked around. My agent wasn't there, but everyone else agent was there. Like I was having lunch by myself at the restaurants while I was seeing some of my friends with their agents. So it made me think if that was a normal process. And then didn't get drafted the first year, didn't even get an invite, which I thought before was normal. But now, knowing what I know, when you're ranked fourth best goalie in the world, I think the least you can have it's at least an invite. So I didn't get invited. Played Canada, Russia at 18 years old. And then 19 years old, had a really good season. Attended the Montreal Canadiens training camp before the season. And then had a really good conversation with Trevor Timmons at the camp. Says, look, Nick, we know you're a good goalie, but we don't know if you can actually win some games. So go back and prove to me that you can win. So I don't know, like I was happy. I thought I was kind of part of the Montreal organization because I didn't know at the time. So I go back, and 2 weeks later, I saw on the media that the other goalie that was invited same time than me, Robert Meyer, signed an NHL 3-year deal worth like 2.1 million. And I thought to myself, what did I just miss? So go back, had a really successful season at 19 years old. Actually was MVP of the league, last goalie to done that. Broke some record, goal against average of all time, 2.01, save percentage. Finished a season with like 43 wins, 15 loss. And then the camp was in Montreal in front of my family. I had like over 50 people for me, and was drafted in the 5th round by the Flyers. So, and at that time, I thought it was the best thing that could have happened to me because the Flyers were always looking for the goalie, and I still to this day think that they're still looking for that goalie. And maybe we thought that Carter Hart could be the one. I still think he's an outstanding goalie, and he could do a good job for them. So I go there. First year, they called my agent, say, look, we just signed Chris Pronger to a big contract. We don't have much money left. So trust us, sign a 1-year AHL contract. You'll play in the AHL and go from there. So my agent told me, hey, we have a good relationship with them. Don't worry, go for it. So I signed that 1-year deal. At Christmas, there's some trades going on. They brought Michael Layton from Carolina. So at Christmas, I had a meeting with the GMs, John Paddock at the time, and he says, Nick, you've proved in QMJHL that you can win personal things, but prove to us that you can win, as a team as well. So go back in Moncton. We make few trades, including like David Savard, what was that? Gabriel Bourque, Brandon Gormley. So a few guys that played in the NHL. And we actually won the President's Cup. We went to the Memorial Cup, lost against the Windsor, against a guy named Taylor Hall, Grubauer, Ellis at defense. So, big team. But before the final, we played against Drummondville, Voltigeur, and the goalie was Jake Allen. They had Sean Couturier. I believe they had maybe Kulikov. Guy Boucher was the head coach. So they had a really, really good team, and they've won the year before. So we win in 5 games in Drummondville, and my agent come to me and my family because it's close by. Says, "Hey, I just got a phone with the Flyers. If you win the President's Cup the next round, you will get $250,000 of bonus." So I thought to myself, "Oh my God, that's great." So when we won the President's Cup against the St. John Sea Dogs, Jonathan Huberdeau, were so many good players in that team. Mike Hoffman actually plays for Montreal. And I thought to myself, which color will be my BMW? So, but later on, I was with the restaurant with my family. My agent called, says, "Nick, I have a good and bad news for you." I said, "Well, I'll start with the good news." Said, "Well, they want to offer you a contract." Okay, well, it's normal. What's the bad news? Said, "It's a 2-way." Well, that's good because that's NHL, AHL. That's okay. Says, "No, that's AHL, ECHL." I said, "What? You've just mentioned that if I win the President's Cup, and they asked me to win as a team, they asked me in the past to win as a player. Like, what do you want me to do?" Says, "Yes, but what happened is, on a Friday, they gave me a call. I was in my cabin, so I missed the call. I had no connection. They left a voicemail saying you could have an entry level, but on a Sunday, they left me another call saying that they changed things around because they signed a Russian goalie named Sergei Bobrovsky." So, went from three-year NHL deal to a 1-year AHL 2-way. I asked for a trade, but didn't happen. And, I was up and down AHL, ECHL at that time. In the following year, I signed with the New York Islanders for 1 year, and then the lockout come in, and I've moved out in Europe for 3 years. Wanted to live a family experience with my wife currently now. She had a daughter 5 years old at the time, so it was a big family experience for us, which we really enjoyed. And at 25 years old, I saw all those young goalies that I played with or against make their NHL debut, like Louis Domingue in Arizona, Jake Allen with St. Louis, Kevin Poulin with the New York Islanders. So I thought to myself, "Hey, what am I doing here? Like, I'm in France, I'm 24, 25 years old. How come, But at that time, I switched agent for a bigger agent who represent NHL guys. I thought maybe that was the switch I had to make. I received 3 phone calls in the first week and had nothing in the next 2 years. So there's some things that I liked about my experience with agency, things I would have done differently. So when a friend of mine, who's now the co-founder of Propulsion and my good friend, he asked me if he's the lawyer, says, "Hey, you have the playing background. I have more of the, educational background, like the lawyer thing. So how come we don't be together and start our own agency?" I said, "Okay, but there's one rule I want to keep until the end, is to represent the player in the exact way I would have liked to be represented." And he said, "Okay, well, we'll do this." And to this day, we kept that role, which is, something really, really important for us. So that's how I kind of become a sports agent from my past experience. And I've always been really, really interested about everything that happens outside the ice for the performance of the player, like nutritionists, off ice training, yoga, mental, psychologist, like everything that could help the player perform. I was really, really big on that. So, that's why it was one of the other reasons why I wanted to start this.
So during that story, you kind of talked about, the Habs going another way. In the draft, you go in the 5th round, and then the cabin story with your agent. Would you say that like your lack of agent being present, was it something that kind of like put you down lower on the list for teams?
For sure, like when my first year of eligibility at 17 years old, I was ranked 4th in North America for goalies. I was at the combine. At that time, it was in Toronto. Now I think it is in Buffalo. And at the draft was in Columbus, and my agent wasn't there because he was scared of planes. Like. And when I see I'm alone with my parents, well, I see other agents, starting the 5th round, going down the stairs, talking with GMs. Hey, my kid is still there. Like, come on, can we at least if you don't draft him, can we commit on an invite or something like that? But no one was there for me, like that's what the hardest part. And to make the way back home alone with my parents, thinking that my NHL dream was gone or was done, was really, really hard to me, because I've worked so hard for that day. But I worked even harder to get drafted, and then to get a 10-year career in the professional, even though I would have liked to get a bigger NHL career, but I will make it another way.
So how did you meet this agent? Like, was it you that reached out to him, or he came to see you play in junior, and that's how you guys went from there?
Yeah, but no, it's he came to me. Like, I was really a big prospect when I was young, around 13 years old. I was 13, 14 years old. I had over 10 agents reach out to my parents. Some were telling me that, hey, we're gonna buy you, the home gym for you to train. We'll buy you equipment, sticks. We'll fly you out to LA, to Texas, to train with our NHL players. Like, I had so much promises, but the thing that brought me to that agency was they're really, really big on developing French Canadian goalies, and I was the goalie coach was François Allaire, which used to develop Corey Crawford, Roberto Luongo, Manny Fernandez, Caron, Biron, all those big time French Canadian, and that's why I wanted to go with them. I felt that was the best fit for me, being a goalie with all those French Canadian goalies at the time. Not now, but at the time in the NHL. So that was my decision.
And you said, or I don't know if it was Cam that brought it up, or you said it, but you were kind of a player and an agent at the same time. And I know you said this in the class that you came to at Bishop's. You said it. There were some nights that you were playing against the guys that you had negotiated their contract. How does that happen? How is that, teams like look at that and say, I'm playing this guy, but he's negotiating one of my players' contracts. How does that work in the NHL and in the AHL?
So the thing what you need to know is that when I came back from Europe, I was 26 years old. So I negotiated my own ECHL contract, because I knew I had to go back from the bottom and to move up. So when I negotiated my ECHL contract, well, social media was starting to get a little bit bigger, not as big as it is now, but it was starting to get there. So two things that I wanted to differentiate from other agency was proximity and accessibility. And I think with social media, I was being able to reach more people than, being in the rings and, talking with scouts in person, just because I was still playing. So that's why some of my teammates, some of my friends saw the post, or saw that, I was posting a lot of about a few players that asked me for advice where I've played before, like, in France and Denmark and the UK. So those were the league where I felt really comfortable with my knowledge, because I've played there, with the rules, with the salary range, and also the contacts, because it's not like there's 30 teams per league. Like, it's between 10 and 14. So I had a really good connection. And it started with, 3 or 4 of my friends that play U Sport University wanted to go to Europe, started there. And I gave them a really good service. And I think at some point, every NHL players or every pro players, no matter what the sport, will tell you, at some point during the season, there's locker room talks, which, you hang around on the road, at the restaurant, someone is going to receive a call, is going to go away, is going to come back, you're going to ask him, like, hey, who was it? Oh, it was my agent, like, giving me a call to see, to see what's up. Oh yeah, my agent never gives me a call. How come? Oh yeah. And then at the end of the season, well, okay, I'm going to bring 10 sticks instead of 3 sticks. Hey, how come? Well, my agent negotiated that in that contract. Well, how come I didn't get that service? So it's all about details. And I had a lot of locker room talks where, because I was doing such a good job with my clients, while their teammates were asking them to come to ask me if I was be able to negotiate their next contract. So I started having to represent a lot of player from France for the French national team that played at the World Championship. And so now that's how I became, notable in Europe. And that's how I got, players from ECHL teams, because I just realized that most of big agency, I don't want to put them all in the same basket, but most of the big agency, I put it like, they put their player A, B, C. Like, they're A players, like NHL guys. They're B players, like NHL/AHL, and they're C players, like, you're never gonna make it back to the NHL, like. So, that's the difference. So I was putting a lot of energy on those C players to make it my A players, and that's how, a guy who was drafted in the AHL, played over 200 AHL games, but was C player for another big agency, and he received what he never received from his agency before. Well, everybody has friends. They've trained with hockey players, and that's how I made it so big that when I was still playing and negotiating my ECHL contract, well, in the summer, I was negotiating between 10 and 15 contract in Europe. And it started slow with France, UK, Denmark, but it became, Austria, Germany, Slovakia, Norway, Sweden. And that's how it became big. And just happened that, some guys wanted to stay in North America and wanted me to give it a try. And next thing you know, I find them at NHL development camp, AHL contract, and I'm dealing my own contract with Julien Brisebois of the Tampa Bay Lightning, and we play against St. John's, who was AHL team of Montreal Canadiens in the past, and I'm playing against one of my clients. So it's that was the sort of weird part, but I always had a tremendous respect from the GMs and from the hockey operation community, because they knew how hard I worked as a player, and I was able to make the difference between my professional hockey player hat and my agent hat. So, and I didn't want to. They never felt like I was fucking Pat Brisson, So I was just a passionate hockey player, a young hockey player who wanted to prepare this second career, and even to this day they still respect that. So.
Well, I'm guessing not a lot of people represent guys that they play against anymore, but what other ways have agency or has agency changed since you started compared to now?
Well, first there's a shit more than before of agencies. There's a lot, like the competition is really, really big. Like I remember when I was 14, 15, 16, I could have remembered 6, 7 agency, that you could see, like you could tell, okay, like they represent most of the NHL guys. Now, sometimes you can look at the U16 prospect camp, and there's actually more agency there's that players on the ice, so that's a big not struggle, because I started my own, so I respect the other that's wanted to start with their own. And there's also a lot more of family advisor than before. I know it's big in the US, so it started to be big in Canada, and I know parents are insecure, so they're ready to pay big money just to make sure they are doing everything right with, should I go to that camp, should I go to that showcase, that which college should I talk to, and because it's such a big jungle that they prefer to put their money on family advising. So that's where, like, what changed the most is that the competition, I think, is getting bigger every year.
So are the agents also like this in Europe, or is it mostly here that it's like that, where you're getting a bunch of agencies trying to bid on one kid?
Well, like in North America, just because hockey it's the number one sport, it's make a lot different. Like one of my really good friend is an agent for a lot of the players that plays for the Montreal CF football club, and he says, Nick, in Canada for that league, we're maybe 2 agency. So like our rate can be really high, but if we talk about his partner that is based on maybe Spain, well, there's agency everywhere because soccer is big down there. So I think it depends where you are. Like we've just done a merge with a Norwegian agency, which was before a GM for a big organization in Norway. Well, in Norway, there was few top players in the NHL that played there before, like Zuccarello and all those guys. So there's 3 agency in Norway, which that's why we have a bigger time, or we have a bigger radar on where the big kids can be. So that's where depends which country. I believe in UK. I'm gonna find 100 of agents in the UK. So you need to go to the right places. But most of North American agency prefer to stick with what they know best, and maybe make a partnership with a European agency that because it's way more complicated, and vice versa. Like the agency, let's say in Switzerland, will prefer to trust a North American based agency to deal with NHL, AHL contract, and CHL draft, and NCAA, scholarship and everything. But for us in our agency, the good thing is I have a big knowledge of the Europe, and I deal most of my contract in Europe, just because it's what's bring them the food on the table for me as of now. But yes, my dream will always want to be, having guys at the NHL level.
And there's a lot of change and a lot of turnover in hockey, with new coaches, new GMs, pretty much every year. So what's some of the biggest challenges you face as an agent trying to reach out to teams to get your players contracts and maybe even ask for trades or stuff like that?
Well, I think not only in hockey, but it's been like this for a lot of years. And I had the chance or the opportunity to see that as a player as well. and all of the most businesses. But if we talk about mostly hockey, it's who and being at the right place at the right time. Those are two big keys that you need most of the time to have on your side. So if you're trying to get a trade or an invite, most likely you will go to people first than people you don't really know and you don't have any players. Like the agency that represent 5 or 6 clients for Minnesota, well, it will be, I think, way easier for them to get an invite for one of their prospects that haven't been drafted there than somewhere where there's no players. You know what I mean? So sometimes it's like, hey, make that deal happen and I will bring your kid. So there's few things like this behind closed doors.
And how do you build kind of that new connection with the, like, if a new GM comes in and he's never been a GM before, it's obviously you have to build that connection, that new connection. Is that something you take upon yourself? Like you reach out to him, try and build a connection, or is it you sit back, you wait for him to kind of, fall in love with one of your players?
It's not like right now I'm having a lot of players in NHL. Like it's right now, there's most of them are at the AHL level. So I try to build a really good relationship first with the QMJHL scouts, which I know really well, for them to push my players to get drafted or to get an invite. And then when I want to deal AHL contract, I may try to build a really good connection and relationship with the assistant GM, which normally is in charge of the American League team. And after that, it's just, you need to remember that GMs and vice presidents or assistant GM, they have one thing in common that we all have together as a group. They're passionate about the game of hockey, So that's why I always, when I'm feeling nervous, or I'm not sure, I always try to remember, hey, he's doing that job just because he's passionate about the game of hockey, just like I do. So that's why it feels sometimes, and I have preference on few GMs that I have a really good attachment with. But if I don't need to speak with a GM for the Islanders, well, I'm not gonna call him just to present myself to. At the end of the day, not present him with something. It's at the end we need to make some business happen if we want to make time worth it.
Is there a difference in attitude between like GMs here and there with how open they are to like new players or what if they're looking like, or is their attitude towards agents different at all or no?
In North America?
Yeah, just like anywhere in the world. Like, do you find there's a difference like here compared to Europe compared to anywhere else?
Well, it's funny because agents, not like GMs, it's different. Like, let's say by example, Julien Brisebois with the Lightning, I can send him a text, hey Julian, can you give me a call when you get 5 minutes? And he gives me a call, boom, right away. Like there's guys like this, but there's also guys who, you make a call, leave a voicemail for a player, and you don't hear back for months, and that's where, and sometimes in Europe, when I started, it's, well, hey, if I'm not interested, I'm just not going to answer you. Well, you can send 10 emails and they're never going to answer you. But once you have one player playing for another team and he performs, they're going to be all over you like you're, the next thing. So that's where you need to be patient, but know your player really well and where the fit would be good. You're not going to sell a player in the big league in DEL or in Sweden if the kid just because coming off of junior. You need to be smart about which one you contact and for who you're contacting.
And look, I'm going to assume that you have the best knowledge of what's going on in the NHL right now of the three of us. So I'm going to ask you a question, and let's see if you know what's going on. Who's going to be the next GM of the Habs?
Oof, my God. I don't know. Seriously, I don't know because right now it's a total mess with the Habs, and I feel bad for Dominic Duchamp, like the head coach. I really do feel bad for him because I feel that he's trying his best, and I just don't know why players or reporters are talking so much about that fucking system. You like need to adjust for the system. He used that same system in major junior with the world junior, where like it's not rocket science. Like you press at one or you press at two. It's pretty basic. So. But the next GM for Montreal, I know he needs to speak French. That's non-negotiable for people of Quebec. That's for sure. So will they were talking about interviewing 3 women, which is always good, thinking outside the box. But at the end of the day, it's a Montreal Canadian. You can't, yes, you can learn while you do it, but you need at least a minimum of experience and knowledge to make that big step. GM of Montreal Canadiens is unfortunately not the same stage than GMs for the Arizona Coyotes. So there's a level of pressure that you need to achieve or to be able to contain with Montreal.
Is that something you've ever thought about doing?
I was gonna say
making that transition to being a GM. Like, am I talking to a future NHL GM right now?
No, I've never been that much interested about it because now I'm my own boss and I have my own challenges. Like maybe in a big future, but I still have few things I want to achieve. Like I want my first NHL contract signed. I want my first NHL draft. I want to be an NHLPA certified agent. All those things. I want to be able to go at the Bell Center and tell my friends and my wife, well, I'm going to watch one of my players on the ice. Like maybe if I do this for 25, 30 years, maybe I'm going to be ready for a new challenge. But as of now, at 32 years old, I rather stay focused because I'm still passionate of the game like I was as a player. So every time I see my players perform, it's like I do perform. So I still have those, those chills. Even though I watch players in the QMJHL and they do warm-ups, I still have, those tickling that I wish I could have been there again.
Speaking of watching your players, speaking of going to see your players play, most of our fans are Habs fans, so you do represent one of our old friends in Dale Weise. So you want to give us an update on him and just check in with him, like how's it going? How's he liking playing in Europe now? Obviously, he's towards the back part of his career, but
yeah, but Dales is a great person. He's a really there's a reason why people like him, and it's because he's giving up his own time for the fans, the community, and he's really big here. I know for him it was a challenge to go to Sweden because he had to leave his family behind. Now he has a wife and 4 kids, which it's never easy to do. And I know being there, it wasn't the start that he was expecting just because of the injuries, and he sees all of his teammates starting to perform, the team performing. But now that he's got back from his second injury, I think his game starts to moved up. I know the team is really happy about him, about the way he performs. I know few of the fans in Sweden were really surprised when he he knocked the guys off in middle ice out of the blue. Like people were, oh my God, what was this? So, no, I think he can play hockey. He's more than a power forward. I think he had some skills, got some speed, and I just recently it's been really good. I know the kind of the Christmas break will probably do him good. I'm not too sure again if his family will travel to Sweden with all the new cases that's has been going on. But it's never easy to go away and do this by your own. But man, he's such a passionate kid. It's unbelievable. Like he's passionate about everything. He's as passionate on the ice that he is off the ice with doing podcasts and being there all the time. So no, I just wish him the best. And I know for him, it's kind of his second time in Europe, which is on different. It was a different stage of his career, but he's playing in one of the best league in Europe. So hopefully, he have a good end of the season and can get himself a bigger opportunity for next year.
I think we'd all love to see that. He was definitely a fan favorite here. I'm sure you know that.
Yeah.
But speaking of players you represent too, just to shift it a little bit, there's an upcoming World Juniors Championship in about a month, not less than a month now, a couple of weeks. Are you representing anyone that's going to be playing in the tournament? Or do you have any?
We're having discussion with few that I can't tell you, but they're not from Canada. They're from a different country. But so that's where my partner and I will have a really, really big look on the World Junior, what's going to happen. It's always fun to watch Team Canada because there's a lot of players I know, French Canadian or players playing the Q. But yeah, we got some few players that we're having discussion with right now that will be at the World Junior. So it's going to be really interesting to watch them live instead of going in stats and watch their previous game and all that stuff. So yeah.
Are you going to the tournament?
No, so far I'm not going. I don't feel that it's something that I need to attempt. My wife, she's immunosuppressed. We got 2 kids there here, and I think I'm gone so many times during the week at the rinks that I want to keep some of those bonus points to myself.
That's fair.
On a non-agent level, is watching hockey games just, can you just sit back and relax and enjoy it, or are you always kind of working when you're watching games?
I think the only time I kind of watch games just to relax is while I'm working and there's the background, there's Tampa Bay Lightning against Montreal Canadiens, just because I was part of the both organization for a little bit, so there's always excitement. But when I watch American League or when I watch ECHL or Major Junior, I'm always kind of on evaluation mode. Like, oh, maybe this guy after that season, if he's not playing in North America, maybe in Europe he could do good in that league, or I wonder who representing him, or so that's where I'm at. But I'm always looking to see, because I like to compare my players and their play, even like in midget or major junior, to a certain player in the NHL. So when that player plays, I like to see what he does to make his play successful and try to remember that and tell my player, hey, watch this. Here's what he's making. Like, D2D, quick up the ice. He's never juggling with the puck too much. Make sure to play it fast. Look his stick, stick on puck, take times and space away. So all those few things that I'm always watching, but I'm really just relaxing and enjoying the hockey game.
And for you, I don't know if you have any goalies, but being a goalie, is it something you try and help them out if you do have a goalie? Like, is it easier for you to connect with a goalie than it is for an average player?
Yeah. Well, I always tell that goalies are special, but in a good way. But yes, for sure, we do represent goalies. There's Also one coming up, only 15 years old. That's probably going to be a top 5, top 10 overall at the next QMJHL draft. Their Team Canada is already talking about him being among the pipeline for next summer. So it's easier for me to speak the same language to the goalie than, I don't think there's a specific language with forwards, but, goalies, when I talk about RVH and, dead angle and reverse inside knee and, butterfly slide and, that there's few things like edges that if I do speak with the parents, is going to say, what are you talking about? So it's with my background being because I was able to do, going from midget AAA, first round in the Q and QMJHL and after pro and Europe. So I can relate to them. And what I tell them is that, hey, you will be going through the exact same step that I just did as a goalie. I know the challenges. I know it's frustrating. Let's say for a guy like Samuel Montembeault, who's behind Jake Allen, who's not playing much. Like, I know how it feels. I don't know how it feels when you're at the NHL level, but I had it in the AHL when I was with the Flyers. So I had it in major junior as well. So yes, it's easier to relate and to communicate with a goalie than if I wasn't a goalie, because I know that it's tricky for other agency, and I have still a really good connection and good relationship with other agency. Like we respect ourselves a lot. And some agency, Nick, you can take all the goalies you want because there's too fucked up for me.
On a less serious note here, who's your favorite guy to play with and maybe play against also, like from your time in junior or the pros, whatever level?
Well, I've loved played with David Savard. My God, this guy, like I played with him at 18, 19, and 20 years old when we won the President's Cup. Such a outstanding human. I don't know. I think he doesn't know what pressure is. Like, he comes to the ring just happy. Like, I'm sure he was when he was younger. He plays, when I was 18, 19, at his age, we used to play streets hockey, and he had the exact same smiley face, and he has sometimes now when I watch him during warm-ups, like, such a great guy. He can do it all on the ice. He can make some points, had a good shot, he can be physical. He blocked thousands of shots for me, which was a big reason why we won the President's Cup that year. And, always a humble guy. He was one of my favorite players to play with.
All right, and last one for you. One question we ask all our guests: if you were stuck on a deserted island, you get stuck, there's nothing around, what are the 3 things you're bringing? Anything you want. Food. Anything. What's that?
It can't be food, so you can't say food.
No.
Yeah, you gotta hunt for your own food.
Maybe I would bring a boat.
There you go. All right.
3 things. A boat. Actually, water for sure.
All right.
The 3rd thing, I know, an engine to make sure the boat.
All right. Fair enough.
So you're just really trying to get off the island, is what you're doing.
Yeah. Always trying to find solutions,
All right, so we're going to wrap it up here. Nick, once again, we just want to thank you for hopping on with us. We really appreciate it. It was a great interview. We had a lot of fun. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for you guys. Thanks for inviting me. I really do appreciate it.
And we wish you all the best, trying to knock off all those goals that you got set forward. And maybe one day we'll see you as the GM of the Habs.
Maybe.
Good luck, boss. Thank you so much.
Happy holidays. Bye.
You too.